All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of our Facebook Live where we bring in many different content, both inside and outside of real estate. And today we will be talking about the importance of walking a real estate property before we put it under contract. So, there are some of the things that we talk about, like LOI, which is letter of intent. And then once when that's accepted, the thing goes under contract. And before we do any of that stuff, there is one step that we always like to emphasize is walking the property. So my name is Dr. Noah Liu, and I am here again with my buddy and partner Tom Bibi Varghese, and we have done many deals together. So this is something where we are going to emphasize on one of the industrial deal that we are looking into. So Tom, take it over, man.
Good afternoon, everybody. So excited for another Facebook Live, and thank you, Dr. Noel, for the introduction. I am the partner of Dr. Noel Liu, as well as the co-host of the show, if you want to call it a show. So anyway, we are excited to bring this real estate updates every week on Thursdays, and what we do is we give you nuggets on something that really you can take it and apply to any property, any situation you're in. My name is Tom Bibiwargis, as Noel said, and I'm a serial entrepreneur as well as a real estate investor. I started investing about 4 years ago and invested in a whole lot of deals that includes multifamily apartments, storage units, industrial buildings, and other types of properties. And of all these, we tend to love a certain category, which is industrial flex storages. But today we're going to talk about the importance of walking a property. And this applies to any kind of real estate that you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at. It's not just for any particular type, but this applies to anything you want to buy, especially in real estate. So, yeah, let's kick it off. And it's a very, very interesting topic that we're going to talk about.
Because one of the reasons we are bringing this topic is a lot of our colleagues and many people that I know, like who actually have investment properties, you'll be surprised that some of them have never even stepped foot on a property, and they've been talking to the broker. They put it on the contract, and they just go ahead and get it done. And same thing with syndications. If you are going to be a partner or a limited partner or a JV partner, it's very important that every single partner just go and take around and take a look at what's going on in the property, just so that you see what the building is like, what is it like, what's the structure like, what is the traffic like. Just get a feel, because a lot of times when we look at things on paper, it's not the same thing as when we are actually there on the ground, right? So Tom, I want to ask you some of those questions. When we are there walking the property, what are some of those things that we are looking for, both macro and micro level?
Right. So the first thing we look at is definitely the location, right? See, when you see an offering memorandum or when you see a listing online, everything is going to look pretty. Now, think about it. It's listed by a broker, and his sole intention is to get the property sold. So, is he going to put any bad pictures? Is he going to show anything bad about the property? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
I mean, everything is going to be so pretty. I mean, the pictures are going to be even touched up in several cases, and it's going to look great. I mean, I can give you an example of an industrial property that I walked a couple of months ago. I mean, it looked fabulous in the pictures. I mean, it was really stunning. But one thing was a red flag to me was that this property was like I think 20 years old, and I was thinking, how can they make it this good in the picture? How can it look so good? So I already had this red flag in my mind, and I showed up over there, and this property was not like well, like 180 degrees different, but I would say about 50% was an exaggeration. The pictures did not really match how the property
Hmm.
looked like. I mean, the property didn't look that new as it did in the pictures. That's one thing. And the location wasn't that great. So when you walk the property, that's when you can get to see what it feels like and you can make the decision. I mean, sometimes it is a yes or no immediately. Like, I knew this one, yeah, this is good, but for now, for the price that he's asking. I also want to give you an example of a house that I went to see a long time ago. And this house looked like amazing in the picture. Okay, I mean they put up all the pictures. I mean it was great. Now, and I walked the house, and this is a house that I was looking to buy at that time, and everything was great in the pictures. And I walked the house. The house actually looked like it did in the pictures, but one thing that they did not show was the side of the house, and it was on a busy road. And if you
Mm,
look at the listing, that was nowhere mentioned. And the pictures, I mean, the picture didn't show anything about the road, but this house like is like right next to the road, a busy main road. So there's a lot of noise that comes out of there. And if you have kids, you don't want the kids playing. I mean, exposed to a main road like that, right? So that was definitely a no go at that point. So these are the things that help you decide uh, when you go and walk a property. There's so many things you will spot that you otherwise miss in a listing.
exactly, man. It's one of those things where we have a goal in our head. We are trying to achieve something. What are we trying to achieve with that real estate property? Is it a multifamily? And if it is, where is it located? Is it a class A, class B, class C? And if it's not a multifamily, if it's an industrial, where is that industrial located? Is it like next to other industrial? Or if it's a retail plaza, where is that located? Is it near a busy road where there's a lot of traffic? So it all depends on the type of asset that you are looking for, and also depends on what's your goal to do with that asset. That when you walk that property and you're trying to get that feeling, you're trying to see like, what's that picture that one have in their head. Because it may seem a story for the seller and it may seem one story for the broker, but then for your under your eyes, I mean, it's going to be a different story, and that may or may not match to what you had in mind, you have imagined in your mind, because it's so much contrast as to what may happen once you're down there versus what's on a paper. So let's talk about micro once you're in the property. So Tom, you and I, we always talk about, we're looking at the structure, what is it made of, we're looking at the landscape, the curbside, the entrance, if there's parking lot, how many spaces, how big, how wide, the garbage. what why are we looking at all that stuff there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, the reason we look at all that is everything at the end of the day factors into price, right? So if there is 10
Right.
spots and if you only have 5 parking spots, that's a problem. The demand is going to be low for those kind of units. So they
Uh-huh.
cannot be asking you big dollars for that. Yeah, I mean, there is a price for everything, but not the price, may not be the price that they're asking for. Maybe that's something you can use as a negotiation tool and bring that up and tell them, hey, this is what I'm expecting the price to be based on what I'm seeing. That's something that's definitely something you can bring it up, right? The other thing also, which is important to walk the property, is not just the price and the look and all that stuff. That's important, but the other thing too is if you want a broker to take you seriously, at least when you're getting started with the real estate,
Great point.
business, when you walk the property, I mean, the broker already sees you there. You can shake hands with that guy, and he knows you're serious. And this is a
Mm,
serious guy that I'm dealing with. I put a face to a name, and then you may be able to strike a conversation with the broker, and many other deals may come out of it. So he will take you seriously as opposed to somebody who's just sitting there and emailing him.
nothing like a face-to-face interaction. Even
100%.
though
Big
even though we're in the virtual world, but there is still that handshake and that face-to-face interaction that's so important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you will get preference over anybody else who's just emailing a price to him and trying to do a deal virtually. That is guaranteed because he knows you are serious. He has seen you. He has even sized you up. So, all that it comes into play.
100%, man. So here's some of those takeaways that I have for everybody, right? So when you're going in a multifamily walkthrough, let's say going and checking out the property, usually the first stop would be the management company or the management office, sorry, or the superintendent or whoever is in charge of that property. We always want to try to find out who the tenants are and how many units are available that's vacant and ready to be rented out if it's a multifamily. Definitely want to call up the neighbors next door around that area to find out what their comp rent is and how many vacancies do those guys have. We're looking for some of those stuff where we're looking at basic structure like landscaping, like the walls, how how much of a maintenance that property require. Are they deferred?
Right.
We're looking at the rooftop and a quick glance at HVACs and electrical. Now, given that this is not a full due diligence and we are not an expert in all these areas, but just a visual of what's going on, that kind of tells a lot of things about the story of that property. And then
Yeah.
also I like to see, Tom, I'm not sure if you agree or not, I like to see what kind of cars are parked outside. And that also kind of tells, right, what kind of renters you got.
That's big, man. That's big. That's
Right.
like what if you show up to a property, especially if it's an apartment building, and if you have a
Right.
bunch of beat up cars in the parking lot
Right.
and cars that need to be fixed up and all that,
Uh-huh.
I mean, maybe that's not the right property for you. You're going to have some tenants who are going to give you some problems, and if you're okay with dealing with problems, maybe that's a property for you. But if you don't want to deal with problems where tenants are not paying on time, you're going after them for late fees, you have to evict them.
Big time.
You might get that signal already when you show up and see a bunch of bad beat up cars in the parking lot. I mean, we're not judging anybody, but
We,
that's
we,
unfortunately.
we're not judging, but we are judging, right? Kind of. And then I'm not sure. I'm a little bit weird. I like to go to the garbage cans where the garbage bins are, the enclosures.
Yeah.
I like
And
to,
what are
I
you
like,
looking for there?
man, I like to open it up and I want to see the condition of the garbage bin. Number one. Number two is I want to see what's around it. How well has that been maintained? Are there any couches? Any like old, like one of those plasma
Oh,
TVs?
yes.
Is there
Mhm.
anything else that's dumped
That's a
in?
great point, man. That's
Right?
amazing. Yeah. That tells you how well it's maintained, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then during the daytime, I want to see the parking lot is almost empty, and at nighttime, I want to see it full.
Yeah.
Right?
Yo,
Because
yo,
what does that tell us? That tells us is all these guys, a majority of them, they have a job, they are working,
yeah.
right? And at nighttime, when it's full, that tells me that the occupancy looks pretty good,
Great point. Great point, man. Yeah.
right? And then some of the other stuff, like minor stuff, would be, hey, is there enough lighting out there? Is the
Yeah.
leasing office, is it visible? Is it good? And then when it comes to retail too, I would like to see the foot traffic in the plaza.
Mhm.
I would
Yeah.
like to see how much cars are passing by on that street there. What is the customer like? Like, what is the rotation? What's going on? And
Yeah.
all the
So
stuff.
retail, you want to see cars parked over there.
Yes,
Funny,
yes.
right?
And then you want to see big stores, right? Like stores which
Yeah.
has like some sort of a
Mhm.
record, a track record that they've been
Yeah.
in business for a while. So these are some of those things that we like to see when we do the walkthrough. Now, this is not a due diligence stage, and I'm going to repeat that again. It's just so that you get a feel of that property. It's feeling like, is this something what I want to pursue? Is this something which we want to put under contract, right? And is the price make sense, like
Yeah.
Tom just said. So these are some of those minor stuff that I just pointed out. And then lastly, just touch base on industrial. Tom, what are you looking at industrial? Just to wrap it up.
So basically, guys, the reason we bring up industrial is because we found that industrial is a very is a very lucrative thing to get into right now because there is not a lot of competition there, and it is going
Mhm.
to take off as the economy is going to take off in the next 4 years. We believe everybody believes that, and we think industrial in general is going to have a huge lift, and private equity and venture capital is going to come after that. And industrial, we want to see people working there, cars parked there, traffic there. Those are the things that we look for in the industrial as well, and also the location. If it's near Home Depot, Lowe's, that's a great sign that this is going to flourish. So those
Exactly.
are things you got to look for.
And lastly, I would say with industrial, it's how well has it been maintained?
Hmm.
The structure, the structure, the roofing, the concrete, the outside. It's going to be a slightly different than retail because it's not going to have that much of a foot traffic because most of the
Right.
time it's not direct to consumers. It's more like B2B kind of business.
Yeah.
So it will be a little bit different, but the basic parameters would be the same, like the maintenance, the electric system, the water line, the water plumbing, and everything else. So those are some of those key takeaways to do a walkthrough at every time before closing on a property.
Absolutely. Good.
So Tom, anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. I think this is an important step that, guys, you should not be skipping if you're interested in getting into real estate. You should definitely walk the property before you put in an offer, before you put in an LOI, and definitely before you put it under contract. That being said, we've got some industrial flex deals that we are looking at, and if you're interested in getting in on the industrial bandwagon before it takes off, this is the right time, and we are looking for people to partner with. So reach out to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for the last thing is we are not going to be here next week. It's Christmas. So wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays,
Merry
great New
Christmas,
Year.
everybody. Have a happy New Year.
Yep. And then we'll see you guys back in 2025.
All
So with
right.
that being said, we're going to land the plane and everyone take care and be safe.
All right. Good night,
All right.
everybody.
Bye. Good night.